Good evening or good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Tan Xiaochin and I'm moderating the 8th YouTube session of the 10th fall edition of our Read for Pixels campaign. Yes, it's our 10th anniversary. To Read for Pixels, the Pixel Project is collaborating with 35 award-winning best-selling authors to raise awareness about violence against women and to raise funds for the Pixel Project to keep our efforts to end violence against women alive and kicking. We'll be telling you more about the Read for Pixels fundraiser, which has lots and lots of exclusive author goodies a little later in this session. You can find out more about the Pixel Project by visiting www.thepixelproject.net. Now, we have a very special guest for today's live Read for Pixels discussion and Q&A session, the awesome science fiction author, Sylvain Neuvel.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to Read for Pixels, Sylvain.
Thank you for having me and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely a pleasure to have you here. Now, just a little bit about Sylvain, although I'm sure you know about him. He dropped out of high school at age 15, but still ended up with a PhD in linguistics from the University of Chicago. Along the way, he has been a journalist, worked in soil decontamination, sold ice cream in California and furniture across Canada, taught linguistics in India, and worked as a software engineer in Montreal. He's also a certified translator, although, like many science fiction nerds, he wishes he were an astronaut. He writes about aliens and giant robots as a blatant excuse to build action figures for his son, of course. And his debut novel, Sleeping Giants, was described by NPR as, quote, one of the most promising series kickoffs in recent memory, unquote. And his books have been nominated for various awards. Now, aside from being with us here today, Sylvain has also generously donated a couple of awesome goodies to the stash of author goodies we have up as perks for donors at the Read for Pixels Rally Up fundraising page. They are, firstly, Sylvain Neuvel's Take Them to the Stars bundle, and this is available to donors worldwide. Now, Sylvain has personally assembled a signed and personalized first edition hardcover bundle of his Take Them to the Stars series for one generous Read for Pixels donor. This bundle includes a history of what comes next, Until the Last of Me, there we go, and For the First Time Again. There we go. And as a bonus, the donor will also get one personal letter from a character of their choice from any of Sylvain's books. And now the second bundle is a 30-minute video chat with Sylvain Neuvel, also available to donors worldwide. And he is offering either an individual donor, a reading club, or a library group anywhere in the world a chance to have an online video chat with him. The session will be 30 minutes long, and Sylvain will be happy to chat with you and or your group about everything from his books and science fiction in general to sharing insight into tackling writing challenges that any novice author might be facing. You may choose to have the session via Skype or Zoom. Now, we have raised $3,955, which is 39% of our $10,000 goal so far. It's a little slow going at this point, so please do give generously before the fundraiser ends in October. All funds go towards the Pixel Project's work to help end violence against women. And if you're watching this session on YouTube right now, you will also be able to ask Sylvain questions live. Just make sure you're logged into your YouTube account so that you can type your questions into the chat box to the right of the YouTube screen. And Juliana, who is today's producer and chat box moderator, will relay them to me to read out to Sylvain to answer. And now, over to Sylvain. What will you be reading for us today?
I have chosen to read from A History of What Comes Next, which is the first book of this trilogy that is up for sale. It is chapter 1, where Mia, arguably the main character, goes to Germany to recruit a famous rocket scientist.
Awesome.
Chapter 1.
Okay, here you go. Take it away.
Sentimental Journey, 1945. What's a little girl like you doing so close to the front lines? That's what he said, in German, of course. It's a very good question, though little girl is a bit of a stretch. I'm 19 years old, not 5. We did always look younger than our age, though. Anyway, I think a better question is why I walked up to the SS instead of just sneaking in. Seemed like a great idea not 5 minutes ago. Relax, Mia. This is going to work. Needless to say, I didn't want to come. It's 1945 and it's friggin' World War II. Pardon the language. I've been hanging out with American GIs for a month. Still, I was 7 years old when I left Germany. I never dreamed I'd see it again. I don't remember much, but I hoped being here would feel, I don't know, special, like childhood memories, familiar smells, anything. They flew me into France with US soldiers from the 21st Corps, a bunch of rude loudmouths swearing and spitting everywhere. I liked them the minute I saw them. They snuck me into Germany through an unmanned gap in the Siegfried Line. I walked a dozen miles through farmland before I found a German farmer willing to drive me to the nearest town deserving of a train station. From there, I spent, I don't know exactly, it felt like a decade on a near empty train making my way northeast. I slept through Bremen and Hamburg. The Allies pummeled Hamburg to dust. I didn't want to see it. Not the crumbled buildings, not the shattered lives, certainly not the dead. I've seen the war in black and white. 50,000 civilians burned alive is not something I need in living color. I stayed awake for barley and beets. Beets and barley and the endless sound of train tracks. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. I watched people come in and out, little vignettes of human resilience, children in soldiers' uniforms hovering between tears and laughter, haggard nurses leaving one hell for another, a man and his boy fleeing the night raids. Like most, they don't speak except for the occasional "put your head down, son," when gray-green greatcoats and jackboots flood the aisles. Ordinary people in extraordinary times. We all stare at the yellow fields, pretending none of this is real. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. We crossed a small bridge near Rostock. There was a body floating in the river below, a woman. She was drifting face down, her red polka dot dress bulging with air. She could have been anyone, 16 or 60. All I know is she was dead, and no one seemed to notice her but me. I kept wanting for someone to see her, and it just didn't. I stared for as long as I could. I twisted my neck backwards, hugging the window until she vanished behind us. I just had to see her. I don't know why. I couldn't let her not matter like that. The man and his boy got off at the last station. An hour later, I was here, Peenemünde Army Research Center, where Werner von Braun is building the V2 rocket. It's a city, well, was a city, airport, power plant, miles and miles of train tracks. 12,000 people lived here, I think, before the Brits bombed the shit out of it. The factories are gone now, so are the slave workers. All that's left are the scientists, a few thousand brains in a town way too big for them. This place gave up a long time ago. The main building sits alone as if they forgot to build a world around it. It's ugly, functional, as nondescript as it gets. The walls don't bother to hide their scars anymore. Burned bricks, boarded windows, empty streets, and rundown structures. Whoever kept things up around here is either dead or gone. Even the grass knows it lost the war. Everything smells, I don't know what it smells like, musty? Sad, mostly. I shouldn't be here. I miss my home, my bed. I miss Mother. She said I had to come. It has to be done, Mia. I understand. It was her work that enabled them all, including Werner von Braun, the man I'm here for. 100 lifetimes had led us to Berlin. Our work, our legacy was here, spread around in the minds of thousands. Willingly or not, they were all working for the devil now, using the knowledge we gave them. Soon Germany would lose and all that knowledge would be gone. We can't have that. Preserve the knowledge. That's the rule. Mother said that's all she cares about, but I know she can't stand Hitler using us that way. I just wish she'd come herself. Hitler should have had von Braun executed 6 months ago. They've already lost, they just don't know it yet. Everyone else is playing another game, fighting for the spoils. To the victors, they say. Well, the victors will pillage this country. They'll pick it clean like vultures. The only question now is who gets the meatier parts. The Americans really want von Braun, but the one thing they want even more is to make sure no one else gets him. That's why they sent me. I'm 19, and I'm supposed to shoot a German rocket scientist if they can't get their hands on him before the Russians do. I say shoot, but I'm sure they'd be fine with strangle, drown, tickle to death. But men sent me, so I know they had a gun in mind. These are the same folks who think a woman's place is in the kitchen, either there or in a German compound, I guess. Go figure. Mother set it all up. She works as a mathematician for the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services. There's nothing particularly strategic about him. Mother had the right resume. She made sure of that. But those people will recruit just about anyone. They hired the players from the Red Sox, the Boston frickin' Red Sox, to pose as a Swiss physics student. And, I love this part, kill Germany's top nuclear scientists if it looked like they were close to building an atomic weapon. They hired Julia Child, the chef. They'll also send someone's daughter behind enemy lines without thinking twice, apparently. They call it Operation Paperclip. I don't know why they call it that. I didn't ask. Mother said I had to come, so I did. Here I am, 5 months later, making puppy eyes at the SS. That's literally what the OSS asked me to do. They use those words. Look pretty and make puppy eyes if you get in trouble. I think I am. I messed up. I told them I was Werner von Braun's niece, Lily. That's what I said. I said niece. I was supposed to say cousin, but I got so scared I should be glad I managed to say anything. Niece is bad, though. A cousin is vague enough. Everyone has cousins they've never met. Niece, they'll say, what niece? I don't have a niece named Lily. Even if he's curious enough to play along, the SS will know something's up just by the look on his face. Stop thinking, Mia. What's done is done. Puppy eyes. It almost sounded easy the way Mother put it. Von Braun will understand. He's a smart man and he's a scientist. He only cares about the work, Mia, not who he does it for. Well, I hope so, because our plan, the one where I'll come out of this alive, kind of hinges on that man's survival instinct. I just wish... I know why I came. I can see it from here. The steel tower, the high slope, the high slope sand wall, that's test stand number 7. Von Braun's V2 launched from there and became the first man-made object to make it to space. Right over there, October 3rd, 1942. I'm standing here, legs shaking, in the cradle of spaceflight. This is a place of science, home to one of mankind's greatest achievements. Werner von Braun perfected that rocket on the top floor of the building right behind me. That's what Mother wants me to see. She wants me to see the top floor, not the empty concentration camp in the basement. There's a concrete footway going from this building to the next. Whoever designed it made it turn at the right angle. Aesthetics, I guess. People, of course, took the direct route. The dirt path they made is 3 feet wide and a good 8 inches deep. It would take megatons of accumulated pressure to do that. Droves of starved people in striped uniforms walking to a slow death over and over again. This whole town was built by slave workers. So were the rockets. This is a place of science and a place of oppression and a place of suffering. And I'll end it there.
All right, great. Thanks for that lovely reading. So let's jump straight into the questions, yeah? As we just heard a great example of, your 2 trilogies, The THEMIS Files and Take Them to the Stars, both center on strong and complex female protagonists like Rose Franklin, Kara Resnick, and the Kipsu women, including Mia, Lola, and Esther, who all have agency as well as their own motivations, strengths, and flaws. Now, what or who are your inspirations for your female characters?
No. And it's interesting because I've been asked that question's a lot, and it's more it's more obvious when you get to this series. There's one of the reasons why Mia and her mother and so on are women, because they, well, as you learn when you read the book, I won't spoil everything, but they pass on all their genetic material to their child, and none of the male's genetic material. So they basically self-clone, and it's much more interesting to do with women from just a purely, I don't know, practical point of view. The THEMIS Files, I don't know, I didn't think about it. I suppose I grew up with the Ripleys and the Lilus and the Sarah Connors of this world, and I guess it maybe it left a mark, and that's what inspired me. But there was no conscious thought to say I'm gonna make a significant portion of the main characters in my books women. It just happened.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting because I definitely noticed that about your books. So, okay, we'll continue diving into that. But so all genres have their share of female stereotypes and tropes. How do you break such stereotypes to create female characters with agency while dealing with the world around them, including situations that involve sexism, misogyny, and violence against women and girls?
Uh, well, one of the interesting things doing writing this series, it takes place over multiple generations. The first book is set as mostly in 1945, and as soon as you start digging into like a little bit into how things worked, you realize well, women couldn't do anything. Also, nothing existed. Uh,
Yes.
so most things hadn't been invented, and women couldn't do anything. And so you have to, but then if you dig a little deeper than that, you realize that there were tons of women doing amazing things and breaking those barriers, and or just completely ignoring them.
Mm.
Like I'm wearing a shirt. uh this is Valentina Tereshkova, first woman in space. She flew on Vostok 6 in 1963, 20 years before
Mm.
Sally Ride did. uh, and she's like super cool of a person. She's not even military. She worked in a factory, but she was an amateur skydiver,
Ooh.
which was important because the Russian capsules didn't have any good brakes, not enough that the pilot could survive a landing. So they had to
Oh dear.
jump out of there on the way back around 30,000 feet. And it takes like a very special kind of person to say, well, all right, you're gonna send me in orbit, and when we come back, I'm gonna jump out of the burning, crashing capsule that's about the size of a porta potty. Uh, and I don't know. You really don't have to look far to find people who
Mm.
just managed to break all the barriers that were there, and there were a lot of them. Uh,
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'm taking another turn here. So, like, some of your female characters do not always act in a likable manner. So, for example, Kara Resnick from the THEMIS Files trilogy, who doesn't handle her romantic relationships very well. I'm going to say rather like some men, actually. Do you ever feel pressured by gender and cultural stereotypes to make your female characters likable or relatable?
I don't feel pressure to make anyone really likable. I do
Mm.
want everyone to be relatable in some way or another. It was very interesting question when it came time to write the latest series, Taken to the Stars, because
Mm.
the Kipsu women who self clone are well, they're strong, they're incredibly smart, but they're also slightly homicidal. Uh, and you're like, can you make some, a character likable if they wipe out a village with a wooden
Mm.
stick? Yeah, and I think so. But, yeah, no, there was never no, because I think as soon as you try to make, as if you desperately want people to be likable, you will jump into like headfirst into world, a world of stereotypes. Uh,
Ah. Mm.
it's sort of unavoidable, I think. Or they because we're
Mm.
used to flawed characters, but very often they're flawed in the way that we want them, like we expect them to be flawed,
Yeah.
uh, which sort of like feeds into sort of the same image we've been shown of both man and women.
Mm.
I didn't want to do that, so there's I take inspiration from a lot of people of
Mm.
all genders.
Okay. But have you ever gotten any like negative feedback or critiques from readers for not making a female character likable enough?
No,
No.
no. Well, I mean, people don't write to me, right? They do when they like it. I luckily people don't write to me a lot when they
They
dislike
don't.
something too much. Uh, I came across a conversation where they didn't like my description of the giant robot. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
The giant female figure,
yeah,
female-like figure robot.
yeah. That's about it. I don't know. I mean, I hope I didn't offend anyone or whatever. And I do, I do what I can. I put a lot of effort in these things. But no, no one ever. No, I've
No?
never gotten
Okay.
like a bad email.
Oh, okay. That's great.
I get a lot.
Oh, well, that's even better because, the more you get, the higher the chances that you might get something that, it's not very nice. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been lucky. I really have good readers. They're just amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. And your books definitely pass the Bechdel test with the inclusion of complex relationships between women, in particular mother-daughter dynamics in the Take Them to the Stars trilogy. And for those watching who are not familiar with the Bechdel test, it basically asks us whether a work, whether book, movie, or TV series, features at least two women talking to each other about something other than men. Now, Sivan, why do you think many science fiction authors still have trouble writing stories that pass the Bechdel test, despite the fact that there are many more things that women talk about other than men?
Yeah, I have no idea. I, I really don't know. I mean,
Mm,
some I understand that some people, like, rightly so, want to thread carefully when writing people whose lives and struggles and are not those that they are used to.
mhm,
And you want to be tactful and careful when you approach that. But when it comes to like writing women, that's like half the population. You can't
mm,
you can't be too shy to write half the population. It's absurd.
yeah. Mm,
So I don't know. I don't understand. I think it's like for fear of doing it poorly. Maybe I have no clue. I have
mm,
absolutely no idea.
okay.
And maybe some men really just want to hear stories about other dudes doing dudish things together. I have no clue. Yeah.
Okay, well, this next one will dive a bit deeper. Like, so many male authors seem to be unable to write female characters without falling back on negative stereotypes and sexist tropes. As a male author yourself, have you ever found it difficult to write female characters well? And especially considering that most of your characters are indeed women.
Ah, have I found it difficult? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I work. I No.
No, it
Well,
was
some
easy.
characters are hard. Some characters are a lot more work than others. But like their gender was never really the main factor in making them difficult to write or not.
Yep.
Uh, some characters just flow on the page, like they just ooze out of me, like they've been wanting to speak for months. Others, I have to like work
Coax them.
really hard because they're more either shy in my head
Mm.
or they know stuff that I don't know, and then I have to read the 11 science papers so they can
To
write.
come
So
up with one proper conversation.
yeah, so they can write like they can say one sentence, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what can you suggest for science fiction authors, especially male authors, who want to write female relationships and conversations realistically or even plausibly? So,
Well,
writing tips. Mm,
yeah, writing tips. I don't, well, if we're talking about conversations, dialogue is to me the only advice I give to people is read it out loud. Have someone do read it like a play. If you can't
mm.
if it feels unnatural, like you're doing a play, that's probably a bad sign.
Ha,
Uh,
okay.
and in terms of writing anyone who's not really close to you, I mean, just get other people to read it. Will have I guess a more
Mm,
informed take on what you were trying to do. But at the same time, don't be afraid to fail. Just try it. Whatever, do it.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now let's switch over to talking about the male characters in your books. Now, generally speaking, the relationships between your male and female characters are quite equitable and not defined by any sexist tropes, with probably the glaring exceptions of the tracker or Rub Dikipsi, George from Take Them to the Stars, who has a horrible contempt for human females, and I would say how Ryan Mitchell in Sleeping Giants reacts to Kara's handling of their relationship. So no spoilers, but really bad. So, do you think reframing how stories describe men away from hostile and toxic stereotypes and towards complexity and even vulnerability can be one of the ways science fiction writers can break away from harmful tropes that promote toxic masculinity and the dehumanization of women?
Yeah. Yes. I,
Mhm.
my answer comes more of me as the father of a 13-year-old son than as a science fiction author.
Mhm.
I don't know how much of an influence I have on the world outside of my house, but I do have an influence on it. Uh, and yeah, I mean, and even some, it's not, well, we need better role models,
Mhm.
but I think just even pointing out what's problematic that is off, like, that often comes off as like just, boys will be boys or whatever,
Mm.
and pointing it out and saying how Ryan Mitchell is a good example of it, because he's a good guy technically. I mean, he doesn't do, he
Yeah.
doesn't want to, he ends up hurting someone, but he doesn't, people see him as a good guy. And to
Yes.
me, he was the villain in that book. Uh,
Mm.
the Someone who's just not, mean or wishing ill on anyone, but self-centered enough that he doesn't see the world around him, uh, and ends up hurting people, just trying to be the nice guy. Uh,
Mm.
it was a very interesting character to write, because he's yeah, he's clearly not like the quintessential evil character, but to me, he's really the bad guy in the book, more so even than Alicia. Is that Alicia? The scientist who ends up kidnapping everyone at the end.
Oh, the geneticist. The
Yeah,
geneticist.
and yeah, so I was trying to sort of subtly portray this kind of people that you see every day, and who no one ever confronts, or because they don't really do anything bad, but it's just the
Yeah.
yeah, their existence sort of keeps carrying that same sort of toxic attitude that not only is sometimes hard to detect, but they, like, people will describe them as great people, even though they're, yeah, they're sort of playing
Yeah.
the
I
dulcimer
mean,
in a more subtle way. Yeah.
I have to say, I thought he was when Ryan Mitchell when I first read about Ryan Mitchell, he kind of appeared a bit like Captain America ish,
Yeah.
and then he did what he did, and I was like, and then later on, in the second or third book, I think he still carries that attitude. You think he might have gotten a bit better, but he still does. But anyway, read viewers, please go and read the books. You know, I'm trying not to give away spoilers here. But I mean, so to hop on to a more general question, do you think that eventually the violent alpha male type character will phase out of science fiction as cultures worldwide start kicking out toxic masculinity? Or do you think that it's one of those stereotypes that will stick around for much longer than expected?
Well, no, it will. I mean, it will stick around for longer than we'd want to, but it is changing. I mean, sci-fi has changed so much. There's been an influx of new faces in the field of SSF that is so welcome, I think, by everyone, and we're getting different kinds of stories from different points of views, and slowly, but I think surely, we are getting rid of a lot of those harmful tropes that we keep carrying around. Yeah, and it's not
Mm.
just FFF. I mean, it's everywhere. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we hope to continue. Okay. I'm going to take a question from the audience. So Misty 306, who's one of our regular viewers. Hi, Misty. So this is a two-parter. So the debate about female authors within the male space, that is spec fiction, continues. But it seems to be nothing more than an excuse to exclude female authors, which hasn't worked. Now, part two, why are there still male authors who believe speculation fiction should be a male's club?
It's an interesting question. The male spaces, I mean, it's just saying the words. It's funny. 'Cause, what? Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I think part of it is just that, especially in SFF,
Mm,
they felt, or comics, it's also true in comics, uh, this, when something was niche enough for a while, that there was a feeling that you were part of a little group that only you knew about this stuff and blah blah blah. And now things are becoming more. Everyone says science fiction is going mainstream. That's really never true, but I mean, say more mainstream, slightly more mainstream. There's a lot of gatekeeping going on because they're trying to protect their little thing, and that's why you have 7 years, I think, after Ray
Mm,
showed up, people still whining using aliens, Star Wars. I don't,
mm,
and yeah, I don't get it, but that's my sort of best guess as to why
mm.
this is still happening. I don't know if there's
Oh,
an equivalent of that anywhere, like in other areas. I have no clue.
okay. Well, to continue back on kind of the similar theme that we were talking about earlier, like so, stories are one of the most powerful ways of bringing about social change. The line between consent and coercion isn't always very clear in science fiction books, and certainly in some earlier science fiction titles, and some of those that explore human alien relationships or human robot relationships, consent isn't always there or explicit when it comes to sex. Do you think that this is an issue that writers in the genre have started tackling successfully in recent years?
I would think so. I mean, well, there's a lot more women authors to begin with, which that
Mm-hmm.
certainly helps. And people from other parts of the world and different voices, and people who write in different languages, that also helps.
Yeah.
Uh, I think things are getting better. I mean,
Mm.
there's really like a new generation of sci-fi that keeps getting published uh, a lot and getting success and winning awards. That is so far from the the all the stereotypes.
The classic age of
Yeah,
science fiction. Yeah.
yeah, and not to
Mm.
take away from what the classic science fiction have done. Like they at the time,
Mm.
it was breaking barriers. It was but things have to change.
To
You can't
change.
keep kicking the same door for 55
Mm.
years. It's open now. We know it. So and yeah, no, it's a welcome change. But I do think everything is slowly getting
Mm.
better.
Okay, so do you have any suggestions for science fiction authors who wish to include violence against women in their books?
Hmm.
Again, writing tips.
Yeah, I'm bad at writing tips. I'm really awful at writing tips. The one thing I learned after 6 novels, well, 7 now. I have one that's not published yet, uh,
Mm.
and a couple novellas and a few short stories, is I still have no clue what I'm doing. I I just do what I can. I approach everything, with the best intentions, and
Mm.
do your research. I mean, if you do the work, normally the what comes out at the other end is going to be sort of okay.
Mm. Okay, so I'm going to put you under pressure again with
Oh,
this next question. So, in Until the Last of Me, you portray an abusive relationship between George and his wife, which also trickles down to how their sons, with
yep.
the exception of Samael, treats her. So this is actually a powerful example of how domestic violence and violence against women can be a generational cycle. In your opinion, how can authors strike a balance in their storytelling between raising awareness about violence against women while telling an engaging story without being pedantic or preachy?
Yeah. There was a lot of questioning before I wrote that one scene, because
Mm,
it's but I was pretty happy with how it turned out, because in a way it's very mundane. It's just it's a breakfast
yes.
conversation. A cup of tea gets slammed against the wall,
Mm,
and you get into the headspace of the mother of these sort of monstrous children. Uh,
mm,
uh, they're It's a little different than what you would find in real life, because these are also self-cloning, slightly homicidal,
yes.
uh, alien-like people. But I thought it would. I thought it had some power, like the
Mm-hmm.
that mother desperately trying to pull her one son who's not as damaged as the other two out of this vicious circle of violence that they have fallen
Mm.
into, for in their case, for 3,200 years. uh and I yeah I the, how to make it not pedantic, I don't know.
Perhaps like in how you approached it. Like how did you approach it, you know? Because I don't
Yeah.
think you were not being preachy or pedantic in your
No, I
writing.
wasn't. No, that was so not the
Mm,
idea. That was
mm,
like how, because the the concept of the kipsu and the radikipsi,
mm,
of these men and women sort of self cloning and following a path that has been set for them 100 generations before is super, like that's why I love writing this series, because it asks like questions.
mm.
We don't want to. I don't want to turn into my father. I don't want to turn into my mother, which is it's a hell of a different thing to go through if you're an actual clone of your mother
Yes.
or son. And these people were, well, just brutal killers, just with no respect for human life whatsoever, and they've been, for no reason other than that's what they've been told to do the
Mm,
generation before. They were like, their existence is sort of the definition of toxic masculinity, and
mm,
I wanted to explore the impact that would have on the people around them, uh,
mm,
and like especially the guilt that the mother would feel, because she has no idea that she gave birth to clones
mm,
of her of her husband, who's a bad person. Uh, and she thinks all of this is her fault in some way, because she's the one who raised them and spent time with them, and they also are, even though they're kind of like bred to be killers, they, at least one of them,
mm.
struggles with the idea, and sort of at least questions this sort of violent path that they've been set on from birth. And so I wanted to sort of send a semi-positive message through all that, like even if these people who are
Mm,
profoundly evil, can sort of begin to question all that, and
mm.
try to set a better path for themselves, then everyone else can do it, probably. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that kind of answers my next question, but I'll ask it just in case you have further thoughts on it. So, many people in the anti-violence against women movement say that male violence is the main, if not the root cause of violence against women and girls, and of violence in general. How do you think stories and books like yours can help move this conversation forward in a constructive way? So,
Mm.
you kind of answered that a bit like just now, but do you have
Yeah,
any thoughts on it?
I don't know. See, I always have a problem sort of thinking of books that I write as something that has like a influence on the world. I don't. I
I
don't.
get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah, I don't think of it that way. It's not what
Mm,
I speak of things that are of interest to me and things that touch me. And if that resonates with someone, I think it's because they were already open to those questions, if not asking them already. Uh, but yeah, I do think that the conversation when it comes to violence against women has to move over, like include men, because that's where it's happening. That's the
mm,
uh, you read the numbers, like the percentage of women who are victims of some form of violence, and it's appalling. It's horrible, but it's probably not the same guy doing it everywhere. So if you reverse those numbers, you have a very uncomfortable situation on your hands when
mm,
one in X men, blah blah
mhm,
blah, is it's a rough conversation to have, but it's one we need to have, right?
Mm,
It's not normal. It's not, yeah. And I try to do that with my kid, and
mm,
I try to I guess I try to do it through my books, though it's not really intended as a message to the world, more of a, you know, this resonates with me, and I hope it resonates with you, more or less. Yeah.
mm. Okay, cool. So this question is about geek culture. So geek culture in general, including science fiction and fantasy, has had its share of critics saying that it is still too male dominated despite a rising number of prominent, well-respected and well-known female authors. Plus there is still plenty of hostile and misogynistic and sexist behavior by male geeks towards female geeks. What do you think needs to be done to make geek culture as a whole, whether it's comics or gaming or books, more welcoming for women and girls?
Well, I don't know. Because the people who are making it sort of unpleasant are probably not going to change their mind anytime soon, but they're eventually not going to be there. Uh,
Mm,
and so the more open-mindedness you add to the mix, the more you dilute their voices, and I think the better the situation becomes. I think there was uh, sort of a tendency, because nerds could get like picked on or be bullied or whatever, to sort of excuse any kind of bad behavior. I mean, we were talking
mm,
earlier today about, like, of all the movies that didn't age well, and like The Nerds and Revenge of the Nerds is like, these are so horrible. uh
mm,
these people are awful. But
mm,
back in the day, it didn't, like, it seemed sort of, haha, that's funny and whatnot. And so, and I think just the fact that it's obvious to anyone today watching that movie that, like, it has no place on
mm.
any screen. Just that shows that we've made a lot of progress. But yeah, just, I think, just goodwill, just, you know because if the thing is, if the nice people don't speak, then they're not going to be heard, and all we hear are the sort of annoying people.
Mm.
So, drown them out. Talk, say nice
Talk
things.
louder.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, you have a 13-year-old son, and parents are usually the most influential role models in a person's life. So, as a father yourself, what do you think parents can do to help prevent violence against women and girls in future generations, and to get boys involved in helping to do so?
Yeah, we have sort of general conversations about things. When I see, something that I think is sort of subtle, but I will, have a talk with him and see if he gets it, and sees it, and have him understand why this is problematic, um,
Mm,
and why this is sexist, or why this is racist, or why whatever, and sort of train their eye, because there's still a lot of entrenched stereotypes and habits that are just hard to get rid of,
mhm,
and especially, like, the more you spend time with them, the more, the harder they become to spot. So I don't know. I'm trying to sort of help him see it everywhere
mm,
around
mm.
him, and teach him that it's okay to speak up, because,
Mhm.
yeah, you have to. People have to speak up. It's not
Yeah.
enough to
Mm.
like not be evil. you
Yeah. Sometimes silence is complicity, right?
Yeah, or,
Mm,
yeah, or at least it doesn't help anyway. That's for sure. Uh, and people need to help. If you want things to get better, you have to do something about it, and that includes speaking up, and
mm.
and also recognizing that when someone else speaks up, it's not necessarily an attack on you. It's just letting you know that maybe you're doing something that you could, re-examine and rethink, and see what maybe what your motives are, or if there's anything you can change in your behavior that would make things better.
Mm. Yeah, so that comes in, ties in nicely with the final two questions actually of our session. So you have been so very incredibly supportive of our Read for Pixels campaign and our anti-violence against women work as a whole. So the first part of this is, why do you support the cause to end violence against women?
Hmm. Well, because it affects everyone. I mean, well, first of all, it's everywhere. It's
Mm,
literally everywhere. It's not like a rare and hidden problem. It's hidden in some ways, but it's all over
mm,
the map, and it affects literally everyone. It affects families. It affects women, obviously. It affects children. It affects their friends and families. It affects communities. It affects cities, governments, everything, everyone. Uh, it's and it's like the most basic, you know, or the thing to just not be afraid and not be, you know, a victim of violence in your even in your like in your daily life.
mm,
It had, you know, it should be the first thing that we tackle.
mm. And so final question, what do you think authors can do to help with the cultural change needed to eradicate violence against women and girls?
I don't know. I have no
You see
idea.
that a lot, but you can
I,
answer.
I think publishers are the ones
Mm,
who can do a lot by giving the microphone to different people.
mm,
Uh, there, and I mean really give them the mic, because we've seen like a lot of effort, and I think genuine and heartfelt by big publishers to be more inclusive in recent years, especially since the pandemic. But it has to be real inclusivity, right?
mhm,
You can't say, okay, well, there are a bunch protests on the street, so we'll get black authors to publish about, you know, protests on the street and inequality, you know, social inequities and things like that. But these people have, you know, they have other things they want to talk about too, and you can't say after, you know, you can't after that say, well, no, but you know, we've had the books about you know, I don't know, this problem, and so then there's really no room for you. Like if you look at how many people got a second book deal,
mm,
you'll see that that inclusivity is not uh, has not gone as far as it could go.
ah,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. And well, thank you, Suvan. You said you didn't know a lot, but you still answered pretty great, I think. So thank you for that excellent discussion, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Just to recap, Suvan has also generously donated a couple of awesome goodies to the stash of author goodies we have up as perks for donors at the Read for Pixels Rally Up fundraising page. And they are Sylvain Neuvel's Take Them to the Stars bundle, which is available to donors worldwide, and he has personally assembled a signed and personalized first edition hardcover bundle of his Take Them to the Stars series, and that is exactly what you're going to get. One generous Read for Pixels donor will get this bundle, which includes one copy of A History of What Comes Next, one copy of Until the Last of Me, and one copy of For the First Time Again. And as a bonus, you can the donor will also get a personal letter from from a character of their choice from any of Sylvain's books. And the second one is a 30-minute video chat with Sylvain Neuvel, which is also available to anyone worldwide. And he's offering either an individual donor, a reading club, or a library group anywhere in the world a chance to have an online video chat with him. The session will be 30 minutes long, and he'll be happy to chat with you and or your group about everything from books and science fiction in general to sharing insight into tackling writing challenges that any novice author might be facing. You may choose to have the session via Skype or Zoom. There are also plenty more goodies available from authors such as Anne Bishop, Brandon Sanderson, C.S.E. Cooney, Charlene Harris, Eloisa James, Emily X.R. Pan, Mary Robinette Kowal, Jen Williams, Jasper Ford, Maya Rodell, and many, many more. We have raised $3,955, which is 39% of our $10,000 goal so far. So it's a little slow going at this moment. So please do give generously before the fundraiser ends next month in October. All funds go towards the Pixel Project's work to help end violence against women. Now, let me share this. So, you can donate to get these goodies on RallyUp at tinyurl.com/R4P RallyUp 2023. So the links will be going up in the chat box, but if you're going to type them out, do be careful as they are case sensitive. And if you want to learn more about Read for Pixels, including our list of upcoming panel sessions and author live streams, go to bit.ly/readforpixels. Now, the Read for Pixels, wrong one. So the Pixel Project's Shirley Jackson Award nominated and Audie Award nominated charity anthology, Giving the Devil His Due, which is kind of like the Twilight Zone meets Promising Young Women, is now available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook editions. You can order it from major booksellers worldwide, including Amazon, Audible, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Spotify, Google Play, and more. But obviously not Big Book Depository. Sorry, this is a bit of an old slide. So for more information about the anthology and how to score a book plate from the authors, visit bit.ly/giving the devil his due. All net proceeds from the sales will go towards keeping the Pixel Project's campaigns, programs, and initiatives, such as this one, alive and kicking. And please note that this anthology is a limited edition, which is only available until October 31st. That's the end of next month. So go get your copy or copies now before it goes out of print. And the audiobook edition is available from Audible, Apple, Google Play, Spotify, Kobo, Chirp, and other major audiobook retailers worldwide. If you want to get more information about the audiobook specifically, visit tinyurl.com/GTDHD audiobook R4P. To find out more about violence against women and what you can do about it, visit the Pixel Project's website at www.thepixelproject.net. And with that, we come to the end of our session today. Thank you very much once again to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to Sylvain for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. And everyone, go look at the goodies page. There's amazing stuff there. I want to buy everything, but there's really cool stuff you want to get your hands on over there.
Thanks for the pitch, Sylvain. And to everyone out there, have a good day or good night wherever you are in the world.